Tom Brady comes from Michigan, so it's hard to say that they don't produce good NFL quarterbacks, but for the most part, the Wolverines are a place where most big-time quarterbacks do not pan out and end up becoming bust. They've had guys such as Wilton Speight, Jake Rudock, Denard Robinson, and more recently Shea Patterson, but 2020 was a disaster at the quarterback position. Dylan McCaffrey transferred before the season even started, Joe Milton struggled tremendously, and while Cade McNamara showed flash, he would end up getting hurt by the end of the year. Luckily, going into 2021, they're going to have a plethora of options at the quarterback position, and there will be a true quarterback battle. There will be 4 guys competing for that spot, and today we're going to go through each one, who they are, what they bring to the table, and at the end of the day, who I think will win. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. The 4 guys are redshirt freshman Dan Villari, true freshman 5-star recruit JJ McCarthy, experienced starter Cade McNamara, and Texas Tech transfer Alan Bowman. But before we can talk about all those options, please be sure to make sure you have subscribed, as apparently nearly 85% of you are not subscribed to the channel who watch my channel, and we need to help that number, and I'd really appreciate if you guys would do that. Also be sure to check out my new podcast, as I'll leave a link in my description down below, and let's get started with today's video. First guy we're going to talk about is the wild card of the bunch, and his name is Alan Bowman. He was never ultra hyped up coming out of high school, but he made an instant impact at Texas Tech, and has pretty much been a starting quarterback for 3 years now. He beat out McLean Carter and Jet Duffy for the starting job as a true freshman, and had a lot of hype to him. He threw for over 600 yards in a historic game against Houston, and played well the rest of the year, but battled a collapsed lung, and thankfully he was okay. He finished his freshman year with 2,638 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 7 picks. He came back in 2019 as a starter, but after only 2 games, he had injured his shoulder and decided to redshirt after missing most of the season. He finally came back healthy in 2021, but went down with a leg injury in one of the first few games. This definitely limited and affected his play, as he struggled and got benched in favor of Henry Colombi. He would later return against Baylor and lead them to a comeback win, but after the season, he decided to move on from Texas Tech and enter the transfer portal. After taking a while to decide where to go, Bowman came out of nowhere and announced he'd be taking his talents to Michigan and competing for the starting job. Bowman played for 3 years at Texas Tech, where he completed 67% of his passes, threw for 5,260 yards, 33 touchdowns, and only 17 picks. In terms of who has the most experience, Bowman would be the guy to win the job, but with his injury history and overall ceiling, I'm not sure what his chances are and if he will be the guy. But at the same time, he would not have transferred if he didn't think he had a shot to win that job, as he really only has one more chance to play, and he's not going to waste it. JJ McCarthy is arguably the most hyped up Michigan quarterback in a long time, and he will for sure be the future of the program, but I'm not sure if his time is now. He grew up in Chicago and would make a name for himself there, but he would eventually make a move across the country to be the starting quarterback at the prestigious IMG Academy. He finished his high school career with a 36-2 record as a starter, and was a guy who just won games. He passed for nearly 8,000 yards and 94 touchdowns in his illustrious prep career, and he had a lot of options in terms of where he would go. He decided to commit to Michigan over Wisconsin and Northwestern, and he said, quote, "Michigan checked all of the boxes for me, literally all of them. The intensity of the program, the top of the line education, the coaching staff is awesome, and it felt like home." According to 24/7 Sports, JJ is a 5-star recruit, the number 4 quarterback, and the 24th best player in the class of 2021. McCarthy is young, but he's got the most arm talent on the team and is the best runner of the 3 quarterbacks. McCarthy is also a winner, a competitor, and a hard worker, and all of that makes him extremely confident in what he does and gives him the mentality of an older quarterback who has been starting in college for years. Some like to argue, why not let the young guy get his feet wet and build for the future, and let him be the guy, earn the trust of his teammates, and start working towards being that star as a sophomore, junior, or senior. We will see what happens though, and I think he'll be the 3rd stringer going into the year because of Bowman's experience and McNamara's familiarity, but if things go bad, I could see JJ getting thrown in and forced to play. Before we get to the likely starter, we need to talk about the 4th option on the team, who no one really even knows about. Dan Villari passed for 1,306 yards and 13 touchdowns, while also rushing for 1,500 yards and 25 touchdowns as a high school senior, as he would lead his high school to a 12-0 record in the Long Island Class 3 state championship. This was his high school's first state title, and he actually had some hype at that point. He was originally committed to Fordham, but after Michigan missed out on CJ Stroud, they took a flyer on Villari, and he committed to be a Wolverine. According to 24/7 Sports, Villari was a 3-star recruit, the number 42 pro-style quarterback, and the 1,225th best player in the class of 2020. With all the transfers and injury stuff that would go on for Michigan, there was a chance he would see the field in 2020, but he ended up not. He was a late riser in the recruiting game, a winner in high school, and is 6'4", so we will see what happens with him, but he could be a transfer quarterback when it's all said and done, or maybe things will be disastrously and he'll get a chance to play. Who knows though, and let's at least not count out Villari just yet. Finally, we have the likely starter going into 2021, and his name is Cade McNamara. He grew up in Reno, Nevada. Eventually, he decided to quit baseball after his freshman year of high school to focus on football, and because of that, he was named the Gatorade Player of the Year in Nevada following his junior season. That year, he completed 25 of 384 passes for 3,470 yards, 44 touchdowns, 8 picks, and a 59% completion percentage. He would set the Nevada state record for career passing yards with 12,804 and would set the record for career touchdowns with 146. Originally, he decided to commit to Notre Dame after offensive coordinator Tommy Rees saw a gem in him, but he would later blow up and would decide to go elsewhere. He would decommit from the Fighting Irish and had offers from pretty much every school in the nation. He would decide to commit to Michigan, and this was a huge deal for Jim Harbaugh. McNamara said, quote, "For me to have that instant relationship with Harbaugh isn't something I can get with any other school." McNamara said the two main reasons why he decided to flip from Notre Dame to Michigan was because of the competitive environment and the cohesiveness amongst the Michigan coaching staff. McNamara compared his own game to Shea Patterson and was very excited to be a Wolverine in the future. According to 24/7 Sports, McNamara was a 4-star recruit, the number 7 pro-style quarterback, and the 268th best player in the class of 2019. He was kind of forgotten behind Dylan McCaffrey, Joe Milton, and Shea Patterson, but he would get his shot in 2020. After redshirting in 2019, he would come in after Joe Milton struggled and did see some action against Minnesota. He would throw his first career touchdown pass against Wisconsin, and then he'd have his coming out party against Rutgers. Cade was thrown in against the Scarlet Knights and went 27 of 36 for 260 yards and 4 touchdowns in a little over one half. Cannot forget, he also added 1 rushing score to that total, and he finished with 5 touchdowns, and they beat the Scarlet Knights in overtime. The following week, he would make his first career start against Penn State, but he'd only throw for 91 yards before he would get injured. He would finish the 2020 season with 425 yards and 6 total touchdowns. He's a guy who's familiar with the system, is a veteran in the group, has a ton of confidence, has that it factor, and their quarterback's coach said he is the likely starter and the man to beat. We'll see what ends up happening, but I think McNamara will have the job come week 1, and I'm really excited to see if he can finally be that quarterback for them. Michigan has had so many good quarterbacks come in and disappoint, and I'm a big fan of all these guys on the roster right now. McCarthy is the future, Bowman could be a 1-year rental, McNamara has the potential to be a great player, and Villari would be a great story. At this point, McNamara will be the week 1 starter with Bowman being the backup, and if Bowman can close the gap in fall camp, maybe both of them will get a chance to play in week 1. If either of them struggle, I believe McCarthy will get thrown in though, and they'll start preparing for the future. People are forgetting that Harbaugh is on the hot seat and under a ton of pressure though, and he's going to put the best player in and the guy who gives them the best chance to win. But let me know what you think. If you're a Michigan fan, let me know who wins the job. Let me know another quarterback battle I could take a look at next, and also give me a prediction for Michigan's football season. Before you go, be sure to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like if you want to support my content, check out my new podcast, and all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.